Hey everybody, this is Kyle, and here's another episode in the What Can We Learn From series. And today we're going to take a look at Neil Diamond and his song Sweet Caroline. This was suggested by Max Washington Songs. I was doing a city music story series and changed that up to focus more on songwriting and creativity. Be like Max and leave me an artist or a song in the comments for me to take a look at for the series in the future. So, getting into the song, first thing I want to do is break the song into pieces. There are three main pieces of the song. I'm going to play along. If I have to remove the guitar, I'm playing because of copyright stuff. That's why I have a guitar, but you don't get to hear me play it. I played a song in a slightly different key than the recording in case you play music too and you realize, hey, that's a little different. I'm going to call this first part the instrumental interlude. And what is cool about that interlude is it doesn't start on the key of the song. It starts off just a little bit. The song was written in the 60s. A common thing in R&B music of the 60s is you start on the second chord. So if your first chord is A, your second chord is B. And so this whole interlude, as I'm calling it, starts on a B note. And there's two reasons why I like that. Number one, it's a little unusual to start off your song on a note in a place that isn't on the musical key. And number two, it builds up the key and leads you right to it. It brings you right home. The second part I want to look at is the verse. And the verse essentially is a basic blues form. And by blues form, I don't mean genre, I mean it uses specific chords. And the third part of the song, the chorus builds on that basic blues form, adds some different flavor in there. You got like a major 7 chord, adds a little flavor to it. And you have the walk down. That just serves to bring everybody's attention right there. Boom. Now let's take a look at the lyrics. The first verse starts off in a classic way. Where it began, I can't begin to know it. It's like, yeah, you do. You totally know where this stuff begins. And it's like a very, people might hate on me for saying this, that seems to be a very guyish way to say something. I mean that in a very stereotypical, traditional sense of the guy. It's like, hey, I'm going to be suave and romantic and pretend like I don't know the details. And we do. We're animals just like everybody else. Get some more details as in the spring, and spring became the summer, and you can look at that in a metaphorical way. Spring, starting of the romance. Summer, maturing of the romance. Now, the chorus of the song switches up. First chorus is different from the second chorus, and the third chorus goes back to what the first chorus does. Now, what I like about what the chorus does in terms of the story, you have the idea of here is romance. Here is the beginning of a relationship, and you have that wonderful hands touching hands, reaching out. That is such a great thing, and that's something nearly anybody that hears this song can relate to. Moving into the second verse, you have the progression of the story. For whatever reason, whenever the person is not with their love, they feel lonely. And again, these are such universal ideas. And the last line of the second verse is probably my favorite in the whole song. When I hurt, hurting runs off my shoulder. How can I hurt when holding you? That is such a beautiful description. You get this idea that someone is macho, someone is strong, that traditional kind of male stereotype that is challenged by the emotions that we have. And going back, I mentioned this song, it was written in the 60s. The idea of roles changing. Do men have to act like men? What does that even mean anymore? And we can tell, decades later, that idea has really changed, really grown and evolved in a lot of different ways. The second chorus, instead of talking about hands, talks about warm touching warm. Yeah, I don't. If you need me to explain it to you, yeah, you need to use the internet more or something, because yeah, that one's beyond what I'm going to say in public in a video like this. We have the interlude break again, and then back to the third chorus, which is the first chorus talking about hands. So you get this idea from the story of the song. There is love. The love matures a little bit. when they're not apart, they miss each other. There's hurting. They don't want to hurt. And so they get together. And the song ends with that togetherness, hinting like, if you keep love evergreen, if you're still holding hands, if you're still doing those things, like in the springtime of your love, it's going to be all right. Couple points about the history of the song. Neil Diamond in interviews has changed his story about this song, where it came from, some of the inspiration, and Caroline Kennedy. He mentioned one time, but then he's kind of contradicted himself in that. I'll put a link in the description so you can read some more about the song facts for this. Now, the other big thing about this song is when you play this, and I've been in cover bands that play the song, I cover the song myself. When you play it, it almost never fails. You go, Sweet Caroline, whoever is there listening will go, dun, dun, dun. And I was very curious as to the history of that hook. Now, I didn't have a whole ton of time to research and things like that, but it does seem that this song being played at Boston Red Sox baseball games led to that hook being developed. People in the audience there, when they'd hear a song, dun, 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 you know, and that's where that whole audience participation aspect got going. So what lessons can we learn from Neil in this song, Sweet Caroline? Well, number one, universal emotions make for great creative content. As a songwriter, I always tell people it's hard to write a song that is not a love song. Thinking about songs that I have released and written myself, easily 95% of those could be love songs of one sense or another. The other big lesson here is some of the vagueness of story. Typically, if someone is crafting a story or if someone is interested in writing, creating content, the suggested technique is usually to be very specific. Even if an audience member can't personally connect with that specific detail, as long as they understand that detail in the character, in the story, in the content, that character's connection with that detail, then that can trigger similar feelings in the reader, the audience member, etc. This song is not very specific. This song is very general. The idea of holding hands, warm touching warm, you have these big metaphors, these big ideas. And this lets us know that sometimes you can break those rules. Sometimes you can craft something that is vague and clever enough and guides people along that they can still relate to it, that they can still love it, that they can still understand it. Making people understand you, that is key. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. If you got an idea for a song or an artist, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna say thank you to my patrons because they make videos like this possible. I always have lots of stuff going on Patreon. Make sure you check me out. There is weekly videos plus extra stuff going on. So I'll see you next time.